Hi, welcome to Give Me the Bible, where God's Word speaks for itself. In the last video, we made the point that the Gospel writers couldn't record everything about Jesus, everything that Jesus did, and so they were selective in choosing certain things from Jesus' life in order to make certain points. Well, I gave you an example of that in the last video from Matthew chapter 1. I want to give you maybe a more detailed case study of this whole idea of the gospel writers being selective to make a point. Look in Mark chapter 8 with me. Mark chapter 8. Because here we have a rather unique account. In fact, this account is not found in any other of the gospels except Mark. And in Mark chapter 8, in verse 22, read what happens here. It says, "And they came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to Jesus, and implored him to touch him. Taking the blind man by the hand, he brought him out of the village, and after spitting on his eyes and laying his hands on him, he asked him, 'Do you see anything?' And he looked up and he said, I see men, for I see them like trees walking around. Then again he laid his hands on his eyes, and he looked intently and was restored, and began to see everything clearly. And he sent him to his home, saying, 'Do not even enter the village.'" Now this account is strange on a couple levels. First of all, it seems strange that Jesus couldn't heal him the first time. You know, Jesus touches this blind man's eyes, and even though he sees people now, he doesn't really understand what he's seeing. He doesn't really comprehend what he's looking at. In fact, I think practically speaking, if you're blind and you're trying to tell a blind person what a person looks like, well, you're going to say, okay, well, maybe they're kind of thin, and you know, they kind of, their legs are at the bottom, and they've got hair on the top, and honestly, if you think about it, there wouldn't be that much difference for a blind person between the description of a man and the description of a tree, right? Because again, you're blind. You've never really seen a man. You've never really seen a tree, but the descriptions are similar, right? Tall, skinny, bushy on top, okay? And so when this blind man is healed the first time, in the first stage, he sees men, but they kind of just look like trees to him. He doesn't really know the difference. He can't comprehend it. And so Jesus touches him a second time, and now he understands. And that's just kind of strange, because obviously it wasn't that Jesus just messed up and he just didn't have the power to heal him all the way the first time. No, the truth is Jesus was doing this to teach a certain lesson. And it's, again, also strange that Mark is the only one who records this. And so the question is, why did Mark select this? And why did Mark put this here? Specifically, in this location, right here in chapter 8, what has been going on? What point is Mark trying to make? Well, when you actually read the context surrounding this, when you read earlier in chapter 8, like beginning in verse 14 and following down through 21, it's interesting that the disciples are still worried that they didn't bring enough bread to eat and that they might go hungry. And that's just so strange, because Jesus had just fed 5,000 people. And so Jesus is astonished that they had just seen all that Jesus had done, and yet they still don't understand his power and who he is. And he actually says to them, notice what he says in verse 17 of chapter 8. Jesus, aware of this, said to them, "Why do you discuss the fact that you have no bread? Do you not see or understand? Do you have a hardened heart? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of broken pieces you picked up?" And they said to him, 12. "And when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets full of broken pieces did you pick up?" And they said to him, 7. And he was saying to them, "Do you not yet understand?" So what I want you to see is that Mark includes this particular instance, this miracle that Jesus does, to teach the readers that there's a difference between seeing and understanding. And I think that's exactly why Jesus performed this miracle in 2 stages. It's because he was trying to show the disciples that they are seeing Jesus. They're seeing all the miracles that Jesus is doing. They're seeing and listening to the teachings that he's teaching them, but they're not grasping it. They're still not understanding it. And so I hope that that's a helpful case study in showing that Mark selected this particular point from Jesus' life to make the point that we need to not only see what Jesus is doing, but we need to understand and comprehend the depth of it. I hope that's helpful, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.